The more you know yourself, the more capable you are of knowing God. And if you're wearing masks for reasons other than charity and love, but for self-advantage, self-advancement, self-gratification, self-survival, if you're not laying your life down for God and neighbor, and you're operating as multiple personalities, maybe not a mental health disorder, but a moral disorder, an ethical disorder, where your yes is not necessarily your yes, and your no is not necessarily your no. If you're doing that, then you're spending hours upon hours of your life as someone whom you're not. And that's going to distort your understanding of who you are. And actually, who you think you are might be so twisted that when you reach that final judgment and you're expecting heaven, because you say, Lord, 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 and you learn that you don't know Christ. You don't know the way, the truth, and the life because you didn't operate in love with everything you did for your neighbor. In fact, you justified withholding love from your neighbor. And when you did all of that, it wasn't compartmentalized. It wasn't, your actions are outside of your soul and your soul can still be saved. No, when you did that with your incarnate soul. So when you sinned, or when your sin was one of injustice and not giving to your neighbor what God commands you to give, when you sin with your soul. Whatever you do with your body, you're doing with your embodied soul. Your incarnate soul is becoming accustomed to a lifestyle of sin. While in your brain you've compartmentalized it, and somehow you think your soul remains compatible with love, with heaven. And you do that because you lack integrity. And you lack integrity because you've created the habit. You do that because you've created the habit of harming your integrity, of belittling your integrity, of setting your integrity aside while you nurture your self-centered hell, your temporal enslavement. So, take off the masks that you wear at work, in your relationships. Don't be rude. Don't be imprudent. But don't justify your lack of love with some mindset of the devil. Maybe you just have to suffer. You have to suffer for the sake of integrity. And it's worth the pain. It's worth the suffering. You don't decide to take off the masks and live intentional, serious commitment to integrity because you have a guilty conscience. That's not why you do that. That would be for self-gratification. You want to get rid of this uncomfortable feeling. No, you do it because you're serious about knowing who you are and knowing God. But if you just nurture truth and integrity, what you're doing is you're saying, I am wed, I am committed to. I am going to abide in the way, the truth, and the life. I'm going to live in Christ. And whatever the consequences there may be for that, I am grateful that I have the ability to receive those consequences for living in the way, the truth, and the life, for living with integrity. When you do that, you can get rid of the stress of having to not get caught in a lie. You can get rid of the stress of having to suffer consequences because you've already embraced it. Your yes is yes, your no is no. And who you are to others is who you are when you look in the mirror. Man, the scales fall from your eyes when you just really focus in on living with integrity, speaking, acting, thinking, being honest with yourself. When you take those masks off, you free yourself from a bondage that you were tempted to and willfully deceived into embracing. Removing the masks is removing the chains of hell. You won't live in a lie, you'll live in Christ. Abide the fire.